now listening to the fastest growing faith-based podcast that empowers, inspires, and motivates your walk with Christ. Ladies, don't you know you are fearfully and wonderfully made? You are far more precious than rubies. You are destiny shakers. Fellas, you are strong, visionaries, and mighty kingdom builders. Together, we are Virtue with Vision, the podcast. We discuss relationships, goals, life, and a whole lot of Jesus. Always remember, you deserve God's best because you are God's best. Let's tune in to this week's episode. Welcome to Virtue with Vision, the podcast. I'm your host, Mary Lee Vance, here to remind you that you deserve God's best because you are God's best. Hey guys, I'm so excited that we are continuing this journey that we're on. We've had so many amazing guests this month, from Nicole Walters to tonight's guest, Deon Bonaparte, I believe. If I pronounce that wrong, I'm sorry. But we are going to have such an awesome time tonight. But before we get started, tune into our sponsored content.
Do you have an idea for a podcast but haven't put it into action? Are you new to podcasting and are overwhelmed with all the information out there? Pods and Excellence is your one-stop shop for all of your podcasting needs. If you're just in the idea stage or struggling to decide what equipment to use to get started, Pods and Excellence is for you. Pods and Excellence is designed to help podcasters cultivate their podcast production, help secure high-profile guests on their show, and how to get in front of the right audience so you can grow exponentially. You need Pods and Excellence if you are struggling with growing your audience, having a hard time monetizing, running out of things to talk about, and just flat out lost with how podcasting works. Then Pods and Excellence is for you. Join Pods and Excellence today and take your podcast to the next level. Go to maryleevance.com to get started today.
Welcome back to Virtue with Vision, the podcast. I'm your host, Mary Lee Vance, here to remind you that you deserve God's best because you are God's best. Guys, say hi to Deon. Say hi to everyone.
Hey, guys.
Thank you so much for being a part of Virtue with Vision. If you can, let us know who you are. But before, how do you pronounce your last name? Because I feel like I butchered it, and I'm sorry.
No, you're all good. Depending on where you grew up, you either call it Bonaparte or Bonaparte. But the correct pronunciation is Bonaparte. So without the T at the end. But it's all right. Bonaparte. I accept it all.
Okay, awesome. So let us know who you are.
Absolutely. So again, my name is Deon Bonaparte. Thank you for having me, Mary. Pretty much, I love the Lord, just more so pertaining to business. I actually, started a company last year, NDBU Lab, and so brand marketing agency. And so, we were able to start that in the midst of the pandemic, in the height of when everything was kind of happening and going on. Launched it in March. Around May or June, had our first client, made $750. Was super excited about that. Was like, oh my gosh, I'm rich. But then,
listen, that's how we do it in entrepreneurship. We get excited.
We get excited about those sales, but then 6 months later, we'll end up hiring a team of 6, and then we will be over. Didn't know that we'll be grossing over 6 figures that quickly. And so, from that, we just kind of grew and had some pretty good success in it all. And so, so that's pretty much my passion has been to help business owners, entrepreneurs, and CEOs to expand and grow their platform and have the clarity needed to be able to pioneer the future.
Absolutely. That is awesome. So what gave you the desire to start this brand marketing business? Like, what pushed you to do it?
Yeah, it's so funny because, where I'm from on the south side of Chicago, you don't really hear about branding unless it's, the most we know about a brand is, oh, that's a logo. We don't really know too much outside of that, right? So didn't really know about anything with branding or marketing. And so growing up on the South Side, I kind of had this troubled path, but I ended up getting enrolled in college, and I knew I wanted to do something in business. But on the South Side, the only kind of business is, oh, you want to be an accountant, or you should be an accountant, or, so it was, and so because I didn't have the language or the exposure to marketing on that level, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I just knew I wanted to do something in business. And so then fast forward 2 years later, I ended up transferring to a school called Columbia College, Chicago. And so at this school, I was introduced to marketing and branding. And I remember it was specifically in this class called Intro to Entrepreneurship. Is where she told us to read this book, which had all of these marketing principles, branding principles, and entrepreneurship principles. And I was like, wow, they understand me, So this was the first time where I felt so excited and exhilarated. I'm like, oh my gosh, what is this? And so it was 2021 now. That was 2019. So that was only 3 years ago. So so from then until now, when I saw branding, marketing, and entrepreneurship in that class, my original major was music with the focus in engineering or something like that. I immediately changed that. Wow. And my major was marketing with the focus in brand strategy. And from that point on, I just had this love for branding and marketing. And more than that, I had a love for what it could help people do. Typically, when someone is looking to branding or marketing, they're stepping out, they're launching out, they're creating something new. And so to have the opportunity to partner with people and businesses to do that, I found a lot of joy in it. So
that is awesome. So for me, because I know it's a lot, marketing and branding is a lot of entrepreneurs' pain points. We're like, ew, get away, get away.
Absolutely.
We don't like it. And we don't want it.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
So if you can break down what is a difference between having a logo, because a lot of people do think that just having a logo is a part of your brand and that's how you market yourself, even though that's a portion of it, but that is like something small considering everything else. So can you explain the difference between just your logo and actually having a brand?
Absolutely. So so first of all, I'll give this definition and then I'll go into my specific expertise in branding. So the meaning of branding, right? Or a brand. A brand is a gut feeling about a product, service, or organization. All right. Say that one more time. That is a brand. It's a gut feeling about a product, service, or organization. So typically, when you see your favorite brand, or an example that I love to give is, imagine you cleaning up your house when you were a young kid, and your mother made you use Pine Sol, or she made you use one of your, maybe Clorox or something like that, right? And so then, you just grew up with these products. It was just kind of subconscious. You probably didn't want to clean up. But this is what your family, your mother or father gave you to clean a house with. So now you as an adult, right? So when you go and move out on your own and you get your first house, I can guarantee you the same product that you used growing up will be the same products that you use in your own house. Why? Because almost subconsciously, you have gained a gut feeling about Pine Sol. You've gained a gut feeling about Clorox. You've gained a gut feeling about why. And so when I'm talking about a gut feeling, what I'm talking about is trust. You have gained this trust with this product. Why? Because you trust your mom. And so because you trust your mom and your mom uses this product, okay, well, I must can trust this product, right? And so there is this psychology to branding. And so almost through branding, I found a love of psychology as well. Because you have to, because almost subconsciously you are connected. You don't even realize how you have these connections to brands that you just automatically get, without even thinking twice about it. Why? It's because you have garnered gut feelings about it, whether it was through life experiences, whether it was through your childhood, whether it was, maybe through relationships, etc. Or maybe it was through a dope marketing campaign. You were able to gain some gut feelings about this product. And so when it comes to a brand, it's a logo, color palette, website, process. It's all so you can connect to your consumer, and so you can build trust. It's all about building trust. And so when you come excellently and you come with and a nice looking website and you have a logo that speaks to your target audience, what are you doing? You're building trust. That's the name of the game. That's the whole reason why we brand, and everything that we do, from a logo to a website to marketing campaigns, advertising campaigns, it's all so we can build trust, because trust creates gut feeling, and then gut feelings helps to build the brand.
That is good. I like that. That was a good analogy, because I know for me, pine sauce stay in my house. Why? Because my mom used it. That is what we use.
Absolutely.
So true. And I like the fact that you can break it down so clearly and plainly, because a lot of people get so bogged down with so many different things that we see out here on these internet streets. And you mentioned something very important. I've seen ads personally. I'm not pointing anybody out. There's like, you don't need a website to make $6,000 or $6 million. But I mean, how do they remember you? How do they know you? How can they trust you?
Absolutely. Yeah. And so so I will say this again, all of these, a website, a logo, it's all to build trust. And so what field are you in? Maybe you're in a tech space, and you more so sell B2B products, and and so really what you're building is more so off of word of mouth marketing more than anything. So maybe your number one issue may not be a website right now. Maybe it's just building and establishing relationships. But still, what is that doing? It's building trust. It's building trust, and it's letting your consumer know, or your partner know, hey, I know what I'm doing. I have a solution for a problem, and in my brand, you should partner with me because I have a solution to your problem. And so when we're thinking about, especially when we're thinking about B2C brands, which is business to consumer brands, you definitely, when it comes to connecting with the consumer, you want to make sure that you build that trust. And I'll tell you why, because there are about 5 segments of target audiences that new businesses market to. All right. And so I'm not going to go into all 5, but one that you should definitely pay attention to is 2 you should pay attention to. First sector is innovators. The second sector is late and early adopters. All right, because those are the 2 groups of people that will pay attention to your product, what you're marketing. And so when you're trying to build trust with these people, typically having a website and someone that they can go helps to build that trust, especially when you don't necessarily have the relationships already intact. You don't have the relationships already that you can just call up. You can call your dad knows a few people, and then you can just build that way. If you don't have that, some people are blessed enough to have that, and that's great. But if you don't have that, then building a website is one of the best tools to establish trust with your consumer.
That's really good. I want to hop in again with marketing, because there's so many different ways that you can market, and everyone thinks that Facebook ads are everything, and they're not. But because that's not the only realm of how things work around the entrepreneur streets. I want to hop in our first commercial. So when we come back, I want to talk about the different types of marketing we can do outside of just Facebook ads, because people have driven so much attention to it. I want to give them the realistic meaning of what it is when it comes to having a realistic marketing plan.
Yes.
All right. So you guys are listening to Virtue with Vision, the podcast with me, Mary Lee Vance.
Do you have an idea for a podcast but haven't put it into action? Are you new to podcasting and are overwhelmed with all the information out there? Pods and Excellence is your one-stop shop for all of your podcasting needs. If you're just in the idea stage or struggling to decide what equipment to use to get started, Pods and Excellence is for you. Pods and Excellence is designed to help podcasters cultivate their podcast production, help secure high-profile guests on their show, and how to get in front of the right audience so you can grow exponentially. You need Pods and Excellence if you are struggling with growing your audience, having a hard time monetizing, running out of things to talk about, and just flat out lost with how podcasting works. Then Pods and Excellence is for you. Join Pods and Excellence today and take your podcast to the next level. Go to maryleevance.com to get started today.
just talk it, you gotta rock it too. What am I talking about? Virtue with Vision Apparel. That's right, my t-shirt line. We not only know we're anointed, but we rock that anointed drip. We read that we should work like Ruth, have discipline like Esther, and pray like Hannah. Why not wear what you believe? Virtue with Vision Apparel line believes that we not only read the word, teach the word, and speak the word, but we wear the word too. Go to www.maryleevance.com today and get your drip today. And always remember, you deserve God's best because you are God's best. Tired of dating the wrong one? Do you keep asking God, where is my Boaz? Are you ready to marry the man of your dreams? Fleshly Date or Godly Mate is the book for you. It gives you insight on the difference of dating with or without God in the middle. And it prepares you for God's best. Always remember, you deserve God's best because you are God's best. You can purchase Fleshly Date or Godly Mate at maryleevance.com. Do you have a small business you want to advertise to the world? Just getting started and need to get your business out to the masses? Are you a known and established and prosperous business looking for ways to advertise your brand? Virtue with Vision, the podcast, would love to partner with you. We welcome all brands and organizations. All serious inquiries, please email virtuewithvision@gmail.com. Again, that's virtuewithvision@gmail.com. And always remember, you deserve God's best because you are God's best. Welcome back to Virtue with Vision, the podcast. I'm your host, Mary Lee Vance, here to remind you that you deserve God's best because you are God's best. So, guys, I have my brother in Christ, Deon, with me. And before we went to the break, we talked about your brand, and he broke it down perfectly on how important your brand is. And now I want to hop into the marketing side. I know a lot of times, and I like to use Jesus because I feel like he was like a marketer, like that's just what he was. Like where the he
ultimate
went,
marketer.
Okay, where he went, people talked about him. They were glued to him. They wanted to know who he was. They liked to listen to him and what he and they believed and trusted him because he was able to deliver on who he said he was, which is the I am. That was cute, Mary. You did that. Okay. I got excited. So I want to break down and ask, what are different methods of marketing, even though there's trillions, but at least name, I would say give us three. Some that we are trying to forget that still work, and some that are relevant to this day that work effectively.
Yeah, for sure. So I actually I have a lot of internal conversations about this. This is the first time someone asked me, but I love this question. My three, so even when I'm thinking about how I built my business, again, built my company to six figures in less than 6 months, and I had no ads played a part in that. It was no ads at all played a part.
You're my kind of person right there.
You know what I'm saying? And so I like to be very honest and very transparent and say, am I saying that ads don't work? Well, no, they do work. Ads do work. But in order to truly be effective with ads, you have to have a budget. You have to have a pretty healthy budget to first drive the traffic, the attention, and then to convert. Right. So once you drop, so you will have an advertising campaign, and then typically you have to have an advertising campaign that has an A and B testing, right? So then you have an A test, then a B test. So then after you get done testing, you see which one works, and then you invest more money into one that works, so you can actually see it. And so they do work, but you have to have a pretty healthy budget to do that. And so typically when you're first starting out, you don't have that kind of a budget to really invest serious dollars into an effective marketing campaign, an effective digital marketing or ad campaign. But again, you don't necessarily need that. I didn't build my business that way. And so for me, there are 3 ways of building your business using marketing that I truly believe work to this day. And so these are tried and true methods. I still use them, and they are very successful. One is the king de la creme marketing method, and that is word of mouth marketing. WOM marketing. Word of mouth is super old school, but guess what? It still works, right? Well, matter of fact, word of mouth marketing. We can call it a campaign for the sake of the show. It has about a 90 to 95% conversion rate, meaning that when someone speaks highly about what you do, who you are, your business, that person will completely be on board when they're looking to book that branding service or book that cleaning company or book that podcast, and they hear great reviews about what you've done. They are going to hop on board because they heard their friend that they trust. It's about trust. They heard their friend that they trust, or their mother, or someone speaks so highly of you that you are absolutely the number one consumer on their mind. And guess what? There is not an advertising campaign or marketing campaign that can stand the test like word of mouth marketing. And so WOM is king. I always like to say that. Like when people say cash is king, WOM is king.
I got it. Yes.
You got to start there. So next is, I love to talk about content marketing, specifically using platforms such as Facebook and Instagram. So these are when it comes to Facebook,
on me, and I
got listen. It's all good. It's all good. That's why we here. That's why we here. But no, so and there too, most people, when it comes to Facebook and Instagram, they're lazy, and I want to be careful, when I'm saying they're lazy, because what I'm saying is, realistically, well, actually, let me take a step back and say this. There are over 5 billion users on Facebook and Instagram daily. So because of that, the standard right now is to post about 3 to 5 times a day, or 4 to 6 times a day. All right. So and so
to me, that is not recommended. I do not suggest. I'm not doing that. There's just so much when it comes to. It's not so much when it comes to Facebook, but it is time consuming.
It is very,
when it comes to creating it. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And I like to reference what someone by the name of Gary Vee says. Gary Vee says that everything. Gary Vee says everything is content. And that's so true. This moment right here with Mary, this is content that I can post on my story later and say, oh guys, check this out. Just me doing something in my business, and I can do I can do a reel just real quick, maybe take a few seconds, and that's content. And so when I'm posting 4 to 6 times a day, and I can only tell you about my experiences and what worked for me. And so posting 3 to 5 times a day, or 4 to 6, and then also making sure that I went live at least 3 times a week, have literally tripled my lead generation campaign, tripled it. And then two, I have if you go back on my page, one thing that I say was I was 18 days away from losing everything. And that's very true. I was 18 days away from losing, stuff that I worked really hard for, a company that I worked really hard for, et cetera. Just for a lot of different reasons. But what happened was I said, you know what? If I'm gonna go down, I'm gonna go down fighting. I'm gonna go down giving it my all. So literally I said, okay, well, what can I use? What do I have right now? Well, the social media gurus, or however you want to say it, they say post 3 to 5 times a day. I don't know. Let's see if that worked. I personally, I never tried it. I didn't do it. So I honestly can say if it worked, it didn't. I just knew, that's a lot, and I don't know if I want to do that. You know what I'm saying?
Listen, to me, that's a whole lot.
That's a whole lot, right? Absolutely, and to most people it is, But when I look at the ROI or the return on investment of what happened, literally, I went from closing to having a 5-figure month, within
Wow.
18 days, of doing that, and so I literally, and the only reason why I'm advocating for it is because I've seen it work. I've seen it work in my own company, and I'm not speaking trying to sell you to get my e-course, to get my ebook.
Right.
I'm not doing that. I don't even have any stuff pertaining to that right now. I'm just telling you from a perspective of, hey, I was about to lose everything, and then this method helped me to get back on track. That's it. I have no other motive, and so
Let's pause right there, because a lot of times when you mention that you're about to lose everything, and I think that's a God moment or a God intervening moment for you to have that insight to be able to shift and pivot the way you see fit for the business that you were trying to grow.
Yeah.
What was that God moment for you? What was that connection that you had to make with God? So you had to make sure you were in the right space mentally to be able to move past where your current circumstances are. Because when you're in the midst of about to lose anything and everything, you're like, how is this going to work? What is going to happen? So, what was your moment?
Absolutely. So me personally, my moment was when I was sitting on my floor and I said, God, I am going to make you my CEO, and I'm going to give you back my business, because when I first came out, I hit the gate. You got to understand, my first ever business, true business that I, had an LLC for, EIN. I've started other things before, but this one was like truly my baby. Within 4 months, I was making $25,000 a month, just starting out. I came out the game hot, and so I came out hot. I brought on a team. I was able to move downtown and just really do some really cool things. But then, I realized that, like, wait, something is off. Firstly, my team, wasn't where it needed to be. It is now, but it wasn't then. And so I had a moment, said, God, like, I'm about to lose everything, and I know that you called me to this business. I know that you called me to help these people, and I don't want to let anyone down. And God, am I going to have to go back to what I just came from? Like, I was like, and I know that this is not your promises over me. I know that this is not what you have for me. So I know that there's something in me that I need to look deep within and unlock and give to you, because I know that you called me to abundance. You called me to be your best, and and I am God's best, like you say, Mary. And so there's something that's not quite clicking. And so when I sat down and I prayed, and God answered me. One thing that He said to me was, and actually, this is so good. All God did was remind me of what He said when I first started. That's all He did. He didn't speak anything new. I was like, God, I need new answers.
A refreshing word, Lord. A refreshing.
right. A refreshing. Exactly. Give me a refreshing word. And I was looking for that. I didn't get it. But what He did was He said, son, remember what I told you when you first started. You already received the word. Now walk in it. And that word was go forth. You will not fail. You will prosper. You will not fail. You will prosper. And so that was pertaining to my business. And so, because at that moment, I remember I walked into my room. I was staying with my mom at the time, and I stopped in like a daze almost. It was like I just stopped, and I just remember those words rang so clear. And I took a picture of that because God had me to write it down. I took a picture of it and I saved it in my phone as a constant reminder, because this entrepreneurial journey, it can be tough, and so literally
can be.
It is. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, exactly. And so He reminded me of that moment. So all He did was remind me of, son, that I got you. And so literally from that point on, we decided, I decided to here, okay, what do I need to do? So he started to help me out with strategy, social media. How can I implement this? What should I do? And so one thing that I stopped doing that I used to do was use my voice. My voice is the lead magnet to my company. Using my voice, the fact that I love to read, I love to study, and I love to be able to tell people and inform people with no hidden agenda, with no come do this. I just like to give people information and then have them do with what they will with it. But typically what happens is they return back for you because you become this thought leader for them. And so they want to learn more and grow more. And so that's literally when I first started, that's how I grew my business. I grew just because I went on Facebook Live and just started talking. This lady, she spoke over me. And one thing that she said was, yes, you're going to have a successful business, but you're $1 million speaker. And I really believe that and took that to heart, because how I started to grow my business and build my business, and then this is just personal to me, was through my voice, was through when I went on Facebook Live. It's when I went to video, it's when I just started to speak. And as I spoke, I saw everything else just fall in line, because I stopped speaking for a really long time. I stopped speaking because I just, I started growing a company. I started doing that. And so I just stopped speaking. I stopped going on live. I stopped doing all of that stuff. But literally the moment that I got back into my rightful place, I started speaking. I started getting into, my groove and what makes me happy and where I'm truly my highest and best. Everything just shifted. So so my content strategy, I base it off of my strengths. My strength is I need to speak. I need to get in front of people. I need to, tell people, and also I love information. I love giving away free information. I am an endless supply of free information because truly it does come back to me. So for me, posting 3 to 5 times a day is, for me, that's simple just because of my field. I could just post something. I always have stuff that comes up in my mind and I just kind of post it and put it together. So literally I partner with God to save my business and to save my current circumstances. And so your question was, what are some strategies? We got
Facebook ads.
Right.
Content creation.
Right. So content creation. Yeah. So posting, so frequency and quality. And then also, this is also a big one that I use. Right. So this one being email marketing. So that's something, that may be seen as a dinosaur almost, but it's so effective. And it's so effective when building your community. Again, I mentioned 5 segments of people, that you want to sell your business to, or your products and services. And those 5 people are innovators is 1, early adopters is 2, early and late majorities, that's 3 and 4, then 5 is laggards. Laggards are going to be the people that are slow to adapt your product. Early and late majorities, early people, they may adopt, but they may not. Late majority, they are kind of with the laggards, to whereas they'll be slow to getting your product. But the early adopters and the innovators, those are the people that you want to focus on, because the innovators, they value innovation, they value new technology, and they value being the first one to a product. The also early adopters, they value seeing the innovators adopt something first, and then they see what they do, and then they get on the bandwagon, and then they hop in. And so those are the people. So those are the people that you truly want to focus on. And so with your target audience persona that you will create, figure out who those innovators and early adopters are. Those are going to be the people that will grow your business. And when they grow your business, then you want to get the early majorities, late majorities, and then the laggards. All right. So where they mess up is, though, they focus on the early majorities and then the late majorities because they have the biggest pool of people. But that's wrong. You don't want to focus on them. You don't want to focus on that group of people just because they have the most people. You want to identify your target audience, and in your target audience, who are your innovators and your early adopters. That's very important. So in that, typically when you have your email marketing list, those are going to be your innovators and early adopters. These are people that you have built trust with. They know you. They trust your brand. You've been able to do good business with them. Yeah. Right, and you've been able to, you've been able to service them or give them value in some kind of way. All right, and so I would say that those few. So for me, definitely having a strong social content strategy, social media content strategy. So being strong in social media marketing, whether that's Pinterest, whether that's with Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram, be active, post frequently, and then also post high value content. Very important. You post high value content, okay? Something that people can use immediately, have an immediate return on investment. Email marketing is something that's crucial, right? So make sure that you use email marketing to grow your base, which is focused on the early adopters and the innovators. Then my first marketing, then my first one, and I'm gonna kind of circle back to it, is the word of mouth marketing. Word of mouth. So that's what you focus on: word of mouth marketing, social content marketing, email marketing. And then those are strong pillars that you can use to grow your brand and grow your business. That's what I've been using, and been able to scale my business, how I've been able to scale it and be able to give value. And so yeah.
That is awesome. Look at all of this value that we get in. Like, it is so great. And I really appreciate you. You've taught me some things, and you've connected with me in some ways in regards to growing my brand as well. So I really appreciate you. I think that a lot of times we get so caught up in the shiny things, and I think that the shiny things kind of drive us away to what actually works.
Yes. Exactly. Yes.
and that's kind of, that's what we are. We're human people. We're like, ooh, they said we can do this in 10 days. And then we get upset when it doesn't happen.
Bitcoin,
in 10 days.
cryptocurrency.
And then we get upset when it doesn't happen for us. And then we start this doubt thing of, man, is my business really is this a business? Should this be a business? And it's not that your business doesn't work. It's not that your idea that you have is not going to work. It's the fact that you're jumping to what works for them versus what actually works for you.
Absolutely. And it's so important. I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, Mary, but it's so important that you focus on what strategies work for you. And so if you're faith-based, and I'm assuming if you're listening to this podcast that you are, if you are faith-based, then it's so important to make sure that you partner with God to figure out what's going to work for you. Partner with God to figure out He's the ultimate strategist. He's the ultimate marketer, and he knows your future. And so partner with God to figure out what works best for you. You may be an introvert. So, you may not want to be in front of the camera. You may not want to do that. So maybe you need to focus more on internal automation in your business to figure out how to build leads and lead gen and lead match, so figure out more so an automated process, so you don't have to necessarily be in front of people all the time, right? So then also, if you're an introvert as well, after you can build up that organic lead gen, leverage the income that you receive from this organic lead gen and put it into a paid lead gen, right? So now you can start getting into ads and different things like that, but you have the budget to support that. But don't do it before you have the budget. And then, so if you are an extrovert like myself, then go ahead, get in front of people, use your voice, use your charisma, if you will, to be able to bring people in, and then, because honestly, you don't have the patience to set up all of the internal structure that someone that may be more introverted does. They can kind of sit back for 20 hours straight and just get those processes right. For me, I want to get in front of people. I need to do that. For me to sit for 20 hours to do that, I will go crazy. I need to go in front of people. So it's so important. You see what works, and people say you should do this, you should do that. But ultimately, do what works for you. What works for your personality. I'm big into personality types. So I'm big into, like me, for instance, my Myers-Briggs. I'm an ENTP for I forgot my other one, but I'm a 3. So it's the Myers-Briggs. Oh man.
Oh, the Enneagram?
The Enneagram, yes, the Enneagram, I'm a 3. So I know for my personality type, for what works for me, for what makes me groove, right? You have to find your sweet spot. What is your sweet spot? It may be what a person says or an influencer said, but then it may not be, right? So you find your spot, you go with that, you grow with that, forget everything else, and you do what works for you.
Listen, I'm a strong one with the Enneagram, and listen, the Lord has dealt with all of my perfectionist issues, and I am not okay with it, because it's not that. Okay, yeah, I do like things to be perfect. Okay, I don't don't like when things mess up, and I don't like when things aren't excellent. And then it's like you see it, and you're like, "That's your brand? It's not great." Even though technology is technology, and technology is always going to have its mishaps and its mistakes, but I think a lot of things for me is I want to make sure that any content or anything that I'm adding to someone is of high value. I don't want you to ever question the investment that you're making, because I want you to be able to walk away with whatever business that I provide or whatever service that I provide you. Like, man, that was like a dope course, and I was able to learn all of these things and plus some. And this is way below the market. That is the type of value that I want to add. And when I feel that I am not meeting that expectation or doing that thing, that is when I start to go crazy in my mind. I'm like, oh, Lord, help me.
Right.
So I'm learning that, whatever God says is how it goes. I can't control it. And it's a control thing for me. And I'm able to be transparent because I understand my flaws. I understand my character flaws. I understand what I try to do. I'm a natural leader. That is just how I am. However, I know that within my leadership skills, there are things that I know that I still have to submit to the Father for him to make good in me. So I am not overwhelming and stressing myself out, or suffering with anxiety or depression when things don't happen the way that I see them in my head. So I know that there's other people that may be a 1 or a 3. And my good friend, she's an 8. We are both perfectionists. So it's a thing when it comes to understanding you. And you said something earlier in regards to knowing your personality and what works for you. Me, I'm very much so a people person, but I do like my time. I don't like everybody just seeing everything about me every single day. That's just not me. But am I a person that's going to talk to you and converse with you and be like, OMG, hi? Yes, I'm very much so a people person, and I like to love on people. So I think that when it comes to knowing your personality, if you're an introvert and you know that maybe going live 3 times a week isn't for you, maybe you have to just buckle up and do once a week and make it a real strong once a week, stepping out of your comfort zone. But be proficient in the other areas. If it's posting 4 to 6 times, like, you're not necessarily having to show yourself, but you're showing up for yourself and your brand. So it's very important to understand, like you said, your personality type, what fits you.
Absolutely.
And I say as well, understand what platform works for you too, because Instagram may be for you, but Facebook may be for me, even though they're like one of the same at this point or juncture. But sometimes it doesn't.
Definitely need both.
It's separate. Or if LinkedIn is for you, Pinterest might not be for you. It all depends on what works for your brand.
What works for your brand? Where is your tribe? Where is your tribe of people? Where is your audience? Where is your tribe? Again, where are those people that you are going to build trust with? Where are those people? Are they primarily on Facebook? Maybe they're LinkedIn. If you're a B2B, you probably do want to spend more time on LinkedIn. If you want to be more visual and more so you are interested in the mood board thing, maybe Pinterest is, for you, and that's what your market values. Me, I'm a big information guy. And so for me to be able to, have my information on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook, that those 3 platforms allow me to easily, tell you what my information, or what I'm thinking at the time in that moment. Twitter is also a good platform as well. But again, my emphasis is Facebook and Instagram. And I also, my recommendation is, when you have 2 strong platforms, focus on those 2, because when you're too spread thin, focusing on 4 or 5 platforms, it's easy to get distracted, and to just fall by the wayside, and then you become stretched so thin that you end up burning out and not being able to show up for your brand. So find those 2 platforms that your market is in, that your tribe is at, and serve them on those two platforms.
That is good. I completely agree. We're going to hop into the short break, and then we're going to come back. And then I'm going to have you encourage the people when they may feel discouraged that branding and marketing is not working out for them. So you guys are listening to Virtue with Vision, the podcast with me, Mary Lee Vance. Virtue with Vision is the #1 podcast that empowers, inspires, and motivates your walk with Christ. Go subscribe to this podcast and go tell a friend. If you need something to listen to while you're driving to work or cruising out on the town, this podcast is for you. We laugh, have fun, and get a little more acquainted with God each time. Virtue with Vision, the podcast, is available on all media platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Pandora, plus many more platforms. Subscribe today so you can check out all of my past episodes. Go subscribe now. Welcome back to Virtue with Vision, the podcast. I'm your host, Mary Lee Vance, here to remind you that you deserve God's best because you are God's best. Hey guys, man, this episode has been amazing. We've learned so much. We've learned about trust and brands, how, your grandma, your mom used to use Pine Sol, and now you use Pine Sol because they use Pine Sol, and now it's a trusted brand, and then you believe in it. Then we learned that word of mouth is king, because nothing is better than spreading your business by your mouth and allowing people to know who you are, and people that may speak highly of you and your service that you provide, and they're like, OMG, Deon is the best. You need to go to him. I know that I'm going to say brand and marketing. Deon is your guy. Okay. He knows what he's talking about.
I appreciate you.
And then we moved on to going into different types of marketing, knowing your personality, knowing your brand. And I want to open up to you and ask, what has been one verse or a couple of verses that encourage you along your journey? Because it's not that everyone starts off booming like you have. Some people do struggle. And like you said, you had a moment where you were like, things are about to go crash and burn. So Lord, is you going to come through, or is you going to come through? Which one is it?
What's going on? What's going on?
So what verses have you had that encouraged you to keep going?
Yeah, for sure. So two verses that definitely speak to me, and I don't know them verbatim, but I know the context. One is no weapon formed against you shall prosper. Definitely focusing on just that verse has really spoke to me in powerful ways, to really get me through some hard times. And and when a weapon did form against me and my company, it didn't prosper. So definitely that one. Then Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the plans that I have for your life, and then you make him finish it out, but basically, to paraphrase that verse, knowing the plans that God has for my life, and that they're good, and that and that He's rooting for me. So and that there is a specific plan that God has for me, that He crafted me when I was in my mother's womb, and when I was, before I even had breath in my body, even before I came out, and He gave me air to breathe in and breathe out. There was already a plan that He had for me. And so Jeremiah 29:11, knowing that God had plans for me, even before I was even thought of by my physical my physical lively parents, and also knowing that no matter what the weapon is that's being formed, it won't prosper against me. Those two scriptures in entrepreneurship, I just feel like you just need those. You really need those to get you through. But even outside of those two scriptures, something that I constantly live by is this I don't want to call it a folk tale, but it's something that a man by the name of Dr. Miles Monroe, he says that the richest place in the world is the graveyard. And it's the graveyard because so many people take their skills and take their talents and take their inventions and, the next Steve Jobs. And, they end up going to the graveyard because simply they just, whether it was because of fear, whether it was because, I just don't want to step out, they didn't launch that idea. The world didn't get to experience their invention, and the world did not get to experience what, why God placed them on this earth, and so I think it's so important that, to live full and die empty, because when you are, when you do pass away, you don't have, like, that's it, you know what I'm saying? And so you want to make sure that you leave something that can impact the earth, and you walk in fully why God put you here. And so I live my life by that, by definitely that tale, and then those two scriptures.
That is amazing. I think that it is truly something to understand. Like, I feel like, people like to use affirmations. I am smart. I am kind. I am beautiful. How about we affirm ourselves with the word of God, because the word of God is enough by itself. It lets you know that you're more than a conqueror. It lets you know that you are a victor. It lets you know that God is for you and not against you. And if God be for me, who can be against me? And it tells us, if we speak to the mountain, that means anything that's in our lives, any obstacle that we're facing, if we have the authority to, and if God has given us the authority to speak to the mountain to move, then we can have what we say by the words of our mouth. So it all depends on what you affirm out of your mouth. And I always like to spit God's words back at him when I pray, because I let him know, hey, God, I actually am abiding in your word, because you said if I abide in you and you in me, that I can ask for whatever I want and it will be granted. So therefore, if I am doing what what you're asking me to, and I'm studying and I'm meditating on your word, you said that I was going to be prosperous. I know that when it comes to any business owner that's just starting out and they don't know where they're going and they think it's hard and they're struggling and they're like, OMG, what is this? I am going to crash and burn. God still has a plan. And like you said, Jeremiah 29:11, he knows the thoughts that he thinks towards you, thoughts of peace and prosperity, to give you a future and a hope. He doesn't want to harm you, because Satan is only here to kill, steal, and destroy. So you know how I could just speak in sentences of verses, because I have them embedded in my heart. So any entrepreneur out there that is starting a business, they're struggling, they're not understanding where God is coming from. You could be like Deon, where there's 18 days left and you're like, there needs to be something that comes through, Lord, and you're stuck. Choose to lean on God's word. Talk to him, commune with him, talk to him and let him know where you're struggling. You have to be ratchet. Like Mary is a raggedy ratchet when it comes to Jesus. I'd be like, Lord, she sucks today. Help me, because it's okay, because he hears you. He hears you and he sees you and he still loves you. He'll never leave you nor forsake you. So before we wrap up this episode, I want to open the floor for any additional encouragement. Let us know where we can find you. Let us know if you're opening or accepting any new clients so they can come find you. And then we'll close out in prayer.
Absolutely. Yeah. So my final thoughts are simple. Live full, die empty. Live for, die empty. And then also, I want to encourage you and just let you all know that, hey, you are geniuses. You are geniuses, literally. And what I'm saying is, there's something that was put inside of you, that God put inside of you, that you have an affinity to more than the average person, so whether that's speaking, whether speaking really comes natural to you and you just get speaking and, you're just natural with that. Maybe you're a reader, maybe you just know how to retain information from books like no one's business, and you're just really intelligent in that way. Maybe you're a STEM, guy or girl, right? Maybe you understand science, technology, engineering, and math, and you're brain ticks, that way. So you could be a scientist, mathematician, something like that. Find your lane of genius. What is your lane of genius, and tap into that place? Because in that place is the prosperity that you pray for. In that place is the kind of life that you dream of. In that place is the relationship that you aspire to have. So what is that place of genius? What is your genius zone? And so I would definitely recommend it. Anyone that is on this call or anyone that's listening to this podcast, find that lane of genius, because in that lane of genius, you will find purpose. And when you find purpose, that's how you live for. I love connecting the dots. And so, and so when you can do that, you can find your purpose, and, or your purpose will find you, and then you'll be able to live a life of abundance. All right. And so that's something that I definitely want to leave you all with. And so even with my company, NDVU Lab, brand marketing agency, that's something that we also live by. Our vision statement is to work with brands who will positively transform the world that we live in. So what does that mean? What are you doing as a company or as an entrepreneur? Are you trying to transform the world in some kind of positive way? Maybe you're a motivational speaker and you're looking to uplift people, or maybe you are a small business and you're giving a product that is helping to uplift our community or economy in some kind of way. And so we only want to work with those kind of people at NDVU Lab. And so even at our company now, yes, to Mary's point, we are accepting new clients. We are accepting people, who are looking to positively transform this world that we live in, and if that's you, if you're a service provider, if you own a product and that is dope, that you have a solution for a market, but maybe you just haven't stepped out. Maybe you just haven't took that leap. Maybe you're just sitting on it, because no one has affirmed you to do it. Listen, you better affirm yourself. You better know that you are dope. You better know that you got what it takes, because God put it in you to do it. So don't let anyone sleep or slumber over what you have to offer. And then what you do is you partner with people in their expertise. If you're looking to do podcasts, go ahead and work with Mary. She's excellent at that. If you're looking for any branding or marketing or strategy, or any consulting in that way, go ahead and talk to me. Book, you can message me, DM me, and then just, book any kind of time to speak with me. I'm very flexible and very accessible, so you can definitely do that as well. We have a team of about 10 people right now of creative. We have a creative strategy and marketing team, and we are all unified on one accord to do one thing: to help businesses and entrepreneurs transform this world in a positive way. All right. So that's how we have built the business, and that's how we will continue to grow and change this world in our own unique way. All right. So Mary, so they can find me on @Deon_Bonaparte on Instagram or Facebook. I'll be so happy to connect with you.
Oh, well, thank you so much for being a part of Virtue with Vision tonight. And before we go, I definitely would love to center our minds in prayer. God, we love you. We thank you so much for being such a good God. There is nobody like you in all the earth. We worship you, God. We thank you so much for allowing your wisdom to pour through Deon, God. I pray that you continue to bless his feet and wherever it treads, oh God, that you continue to favor him and the way that he should go, God. Thank you so much for giving him the gift to be able to speak, the gift to be able to teach, the gift to be able to serve your people in a way so their brand and marketing can go to the next level, God. We just thank you so much for showing Deon that you have purpose and plan, a purpose and a plan for him, God. And I pray that you continue to reveal that to him as he goes. God, I pray that for any entrepreneur that is struggling, that they're trying to find a way, they're trying to find their customer, they're trying to find out who they can connect with. God, I pray right now that you give them insight, that you show them where they should go, that you show them who they should partner with, that you show them that who they should connect with, so they know how to move and proceed forward in their path. God, we thank you so much. I pray that everyone that has listened to Virtue with Vision today, that they have new insight, that they are able to be confident in the visions and the ideas that you've placed on the inside of them, and that they are able to walk in purpose. They are able to work in faith. And they understand that you are the God that does not lie. You are a God that does not fail. You are a God that still is alive and well today, and you are going to work through them. We thank you, God, and we give your name all of the honor and the glory and the praise. Amen.
Amen.
Well, thank you. Thank you guys for listening to Virtue with Vision, the podcast with me, Mary Lee Vance. Christ. That's Virtue with Vision, the podcast. Walk into this week winning in virtue. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast on YouTube so you don't miss an episode. Virtue with Vision is available on all major platforms. That's right, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Pandora, and many more. Subscribe so you can check out all of my past episodes. And always remember, you deserve God's best because you are God's best. Have an awesome week.